Yeah, this is an excellent outcome for AIG's current shareholders. Obviously, the Star litigation has been a big overhang on the stock. It's been a real question mark. The possibility of headline risk from this was something that I think was keeping a lot of people on the sidelines. And obviously, the judge had a sort of very difficult path to walk. He had to, write a thoughtful opinion that would survive appeal and navigate the challenge of a set of facts which, argued for practicality and if you all remember what September 2008 was like, there was a lot of decisions being made very quickly. But against that, in hindsight, there's legitimate questions about whether it was or wasn't legal. He found a very practical balance, which ultimately I think is something that's as a bull on AIG we're very happy about, but it's just as a sort of practical observer of the markets, you think ultimately he's done a thoughtful job. And
Josh, our Matt Miller told us the breaking news at the top of the hour: the Fed saying that the AIG crisis rescue was legal and effective. I was wondering if we could get your reaction to that news.
Well, I think by any measure you would have to say the AIG rescue was effective. Legal is ultimately a very sort of litigated question. The courts have spoken. It'd be shocking to think that the Treasury and the Fed don't appeal this, and maybe it goes all the way to the Supreme Court. Obviously, the government has to have some degree of flexibility with respect to failing financial institutions to be able to act appropriately in time of national crisis. Usually the courts will support the government that sort of thoughtfully does that. And I think here I think you can retrospectively debate whether it was as fair to AIG's legacy shareholders as it could have been, no question, relative to how they treated other financial firms. But ultimately, if you were there in September 2008 and you're trying to solve the problem, you sort of can't go back and renegotiate all these things. So I'm personally sympathetic with the position of the Fed, but ultimately, the courts have spoken.
The courts have spoken, and AIG, of course, did not join in this lawsuit that Hank Greenberg launched. Was Hank Greenberg's goal here to win any money, or did he just want to make that point?
I think AIG very thoughtfully decided that its future was in focusing on the core business of being a great global insurance company. And ultimately, I think ironically they had a legal obligation that they had to seriously consider or not whether to join this, lest they be open for damages themselves should Greenberg win. But of course the AIG has been doing everything they can to sort of distance themselves from the fact that they were so closely linked to the original financial crisis. And if there's one thing that's exciting for them today, is they really can now. I think this is probably the last of the financial crisis legacy headlines that they're going to have to deal with.
Josh, we have about 30 seconds. I have to ask, the government many times have tried to get this case dismissed because of that action. Did it in fact end up giving the case more credibility, more legitimacy?
Oh, yeah, I think that's right. I also think that from all the reporting and from all the documents that came out, I mean, it was a difficult case to defend because of all of the documents from the Treasury and Fed lawyers that came out, and ultimately, the counsel, I think, on the side of the plaintiffs did a fantastic job of sort of painting a story of that plays to a lot of the emotions in Wall Street and the greater country about whether or not the bailouts were fair, and whether we as a country want to support bailouts of large financial institutions.